And look at Kirkwood immediately up to the inside of David Malukas and running down into the tight hairpin at 3. But here comes the McLaren of Lundgaard. Up, locks the brakes, looks to take the lead. Can Herta take it back? It's a wonderful start from Lundgaard, who I think has just dropped back from Herta.
2 wide, 3 wide to the back. That's Palou trying to go on the inside of Kirkwood. Now banging wheels down the hill to turn 4, and your championship leader gets the move done.
Boy, Kyle Kirkwood, a favorite, got muscled big time once by Malukas on the start and then by Alex Palou.
As Kirkwood up on the inside of Palou. That's for 3rd place. A lovely move from Kyle Kirkwood on the championship leader.
James, I'll bet he felt I've got to pay him back for muscling me around. Brilliant stuff from Kirkwood, late on the brakes.
Late on the brakes, he kind of thought about going wide, made Palou a little bit comfortable, left just enough room on the inside for Kirkwood to roll off the brake and pull that move off.
Alex Palou and David Malukas also racing back there on cold tires. They're side by side. Palou to the inside.
And Malukas pitted earlier will have more heat in those tires. Oh, and we've got a spinner at the back. I think that's Rosenqvist.
One of the Meyer Shank machines in the wall at turn 8. We saw Lundgaard making that move on Herta in 8. Wasn't able to make it stick as the full course caution waves.
Green, single file through the final corner and on the run down into 1. Turn 1, incredibly tight, incredibly treacherous. Does anyone dare have a look up the inside of turn 1?
Bit of a lock up there for Rasmussen, but he gathered it back up. As we see a car around,
that's Siegel.
That's Siegel.
Let's take a look at what happened to Nolan Siegel. McLaughlin will certainly get a drive-through penalty. The green flag is out.
Rahal tries to get the power down, coming out of the final corner. His teammate Louis Foster having a look as Rasmussen with a big lock up, but keeps it all under control, keeps it in perspective, keeps the lead of the field. Single file through turn 1. Everybody seemingly making it through cleanly as Lundgaard is all over the back of the championship leader. Where is Scott McLaughlin? Drive-through penalty, avoidable contact for the Thirsty Threes. This then on board with Colton Herta. Oh, and it was a bit of contact, quite a bit of contact with Will Power.
Oh, so it was Palou capitalizing on a botched attempt to get by Power. As we ride on board with the Verizon driver now, you're going to see the 26 come up the inside.
Bosch. Pretty late move from Colton Herta there.
Oh, no, that's
caution's out.
Callum Ilott in the prem up in the wall. That's a big incident. I think he's taken something on the left-hand side. That wheel has gone. It looks like the wheel might even have fallen off. That's clean.
That is what it looks like, because there doesn't appear to be any damage to the left front, but there's just no tire on it.
Let's take a look first at Callum Ilott. Nothing he could do
there.
The
wheel just falls straight off.
Yeah, the wheel nut wasn't even on.
Green is out.
Ferrucci's gunned it already. No messing around, no waiting around for Santino Ferrucci, who leads from Kiffin Simpson and Marcus Armstrong. Big lock up from Armstrong, and Kirkwood will try to have a look, but it's only ever going to be single file. Palou is in the barrier at 1, and that will be another caution for sure.
We're just getting the tail end of it.
Oh, he got hit by Malukas.
Did he get into him?
100%.
Well, we didn't see the start of it, but we have to assume maybe that's what happened. Yep. Well, there goes Malukas' day, because race control will almost certainly rule that a drive-through penalty.
To get this thing back to running again, and Armstrong has been caught napping. That will give Kirkwood a good run on him down into turn 1. Big lock up from Ferrucci on the front right, holds it through, and that's all under control.
Great job from Santino releasing the brake pedal to keep that right front rolling. As further back, everybody looking to seize on the opportunity of a restart onto this long back straightaway as Kyle Kirkwood, I think, will have a run on Armstrong. He does. They're side by side.
Remember, no push to pass, but he's got the inside and preferred line. That's going to be so crucial to put a car in between him and Will Power.
We take a look at Kirkwood now putting the move on Kiffin Simpson. It will have to be around the outside. Simpson will have there's contact between the two of them.
Does that cut down the left rear of Kyle Kirkwood? So far it looks okay, but that was...
His wing is damaged, guys.
That was really sketchy at those speeds. Yes, I see the damage.
Look in the live box in the top left of your screen. He is right now on the gearbox of Santino Ferrucci.
Great exit for Kirkwood on Santino Ferrucci on the run down to 3. Tries to do the same move that he put on Simpson just 1 lap ago. This time it's cleaner, but look at the front wing. It's dragging along the floor as Santino Ferrucci tries to get the position back. Kirkwood takes the lead.
Power has a run.
Power around the outside of Santino Ferrucci. The pace advantage evident. Look at the brake dust kicking out of the number 12 as he turns around 3, and now will put the chase onto Kyle Kirkwood with 17 to go.
I mean, it's a 4-second gap right now between them, so Power a lot of work to do in just 17 laps.
Oh, that's big!
Rosenquist, the number 60 car.
I think another car is involved maybe. That's down in turn 3.
Take a look at Rosenquist. Looks to be all on his own here.
What happened?
Oh,
no, the right
suspension
front went.
failure. Oh!
Oh, no. We are under red flag conditions because the tyre barrier will need to be repaired down there on the exit of 3 and on the runoff area as well. We have the green flag. We're back to racing ways, and Kirkwood's had a fantastic jump on Power as Herta has a look at Ferrucci.
We've heard about how that Honda power plant has great power delivery, and that's what you need on cold tires and a bumpy street circuit. And just look at that gap that Kirkwood was able to pull out after just 2 corners. All 3 drivers in that group on push to pass. They're burning it now down into turn 3. Does Ferrucci have enough on Power? He's going for it.
Up the inside, Santino Ferrucci. That is magnificent from the AJ Foyt driver as Herta now round the outside of Power, who defends and holds off the Andretti attack.
Power lunges it back into the apex and looks to defend on Herta, as now Herta is getting frustrated and anxious to get by because his teammate Kyle Kirkwood is disappearing off in the lead.
And Santino Ferrucci is disappearing from Will Power.
He's finished 3rd before, and almost Herta now goes on Power.
Up the inside at 8. That's lovely. Kirkwood has now has a look, looks up and does make contact with Santino Ferrucci. Ferrucci keeps it planted though, will keep the position ahead of him as Herta putting the power down, squirreling around, and contact between the two. In the fight for the podium places, Power and Herta over 3rd, and look at the exit for Will Power now. He needs a good exit, he has a little slide, he will have to use his push to pass. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, draining it on the straight. Will Power will have a look at Colton Herta, who will keep it on the inside. Braid as lake as he dares, and Power finds no way through. Kyle Kirkwood is the king of the streets.
Flag, winner, winner.
Up next, it's the Bommarito Automotive Group 500, Sunday, June 15th at 8 p.m. Eastern on Fox.
There, let's try that. Welcome to another episode of the Push to Pass podcast. I am Derik Vance, and I will be bringing in our co-hosts here shortly, but interesting show this evening that we do have in store for everyone. Obviously, we are going to talk about, discuss, and recap what we just witnessed there this past weekend in the streets of Detroit, the Chevrolet Detroit Grand Prix. Myself, along with Michael, and Joy was there as well, taking great photos, if I must say, by the way. But great coverage by Michael. I know he had his track shoes on, ladies and gentlemen, from the media center to the pits to the medical headquarters. But you know what? Let's bring him in, and I'll let him tell it himself. Michael, good evening. I know Josh is on as a previous engagement, so it's just going to be me and you tonight. But you definitely, like I said, had your track shoes on this weekend.
Yes, I felt like I was all over the place. And Detroit is such a unique track. It's the media center is like 500 miles, I feel like, from anywhere else at the racetrack. So we definitely got our steps in this weekend, that's for sure.
Oh, absolutely, no doubt, and we'll talk about what we witnessed not only in the media center but down on the track this weekend. as well. So let's get to, like I said, talk and discuss what took place this weekend in Detroit. I'll have my 5 takeaways. I know I know Michael just finished up a little bit ago his winners and losers. That has not been released yet, so I'm kind of curious to see where he went with those. We did grab a couple interviews as well from the 2 podium drivers. So we'll take a look at those. We'll go over results if you have not seen those yet, because I know there was a post-race penalty that did not affect the results per se, but it did affect points. We'll go over that in the news and notes section later in the show. And then we'll update the race picks, and then we kind of did things a little different starting this weekend when it comes to the race picks, and we'll get into that. But Michael, like I said, myself along with you and Joy, we're in Detroit this weekend for the Chevrolet Detroit Grand Prix. Like I said, a lot of walking. You're absolutely right. The way they have the media center set up compared to the pits and their makeshift garage area, so to say. So definitely a lot of walking. But overall impressions before we get into the race, what you thought about this past weekend in Detroit?
Yeah, I love the city of Detroit. I think this is great, not only for the city, but for the IndyCar series. I think a lot of work has gone into working with the city to put on the best show possible. You look at some of the free grandstand areas, viewing areas that the city has. It's great. Also, the grandstands they bring in is also amazing. The fan area was absolutely phenomenal. There's a lot of stuff going on there. So just a lot going on before you even get to the race. And then obviously we had, the IndyCar series, the IndyNext series, and IMSA was there. So a lot of on-track activity as well for the fans to see.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And you touched on the fan zone. I know one of the group in particular absolutely loved the fan zone for a specific reason. And we'll let that story go for another day. But yes, let's get to what we witnessed on track this weekend. Again, if you're new to the show, first of all, congratulations. Welcome. Thanks for finding us. I know we were able to live stream again on Facebook, so definitely welcome there. Welcome to everybody streaming on YouTube and or Twitter or X. So let's get to my 5 takeaways from Detroit. I'll go over my 5 again. If you're new to the show, I'll go over my 5, and then we'll get commentary normally from Michael and Josh, but obviously Josh isn't here this evening, so we'll get commentary from Michael. And then at the end, he does a winners and losers segment that not only can you find on here, but if you go over to the Push to Pass website, that it will scroll down at the bottom here throughout the show. You can go there and find it, or head on over to yournews.com /auto racing, and you'll be able to find his weekly columns and mine there as well. But getting into my 5 takeaways, first and foremost, as you witnessed on the opening there, congratulations goes out to Kyle Kirkwood and the whole number 27 Siemens Andretti Global Honda crew for collecting their second win of the 2025 season after winning Sunday's Chevrolet Detroit Grand Prix. Now, my 5th takeaway, I'll go from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. My 5th takeaway from this, or maybe the first one, I guess, depending on how you look at it. And if I can get the right graphic up on screen here, let's try that. There we go. Technology. Can't live with it. Can't live without it. Michael, has to obviously be what's happened to Chevrolet. I know you addressed that question with one of the representatives from Chevrolet on Sunday, but believe it or not, Michael, it has been 9 months or 274 days since Chevrolet has last tasted victory lane with Scott McLaughlin and the number 3 Gallagher Team Penske Chevrolet at race number 2 in Milwaukee in 2024. Honda has been better than them in 2025. Obviously, they've collected 7 wins between 2 different drivers, Alex Palou with 5 and Kyle Kirkwood with 2. So, Michael, begs the question, what's going on and what's going wrong over at Chevrolet?
Yeah, I have no idea. I did present that question to a Chevrolet exec, and they're kind of like, oh, we're just moving on. So it's definitely heartbreaking for Chevrolet to lose that race in their hometown at at their facility, at their headquarters there in Detroit. But when I look at it, it's just right now all their drivers just seem to have one little mistake just about every weekend. So it's one of those things where Chevy's going to have to maybe find some different power maps or fuel mapping to help with fuel mileage, things like that. So just a lot of work's going to have to go in on the Chevy and the Elmore side of things. And I know Elmore does a lot to help with Chevy there at the racetrack. So and also in the engine room. So definitely going to have to find something to get rid of the stranglehold that Honda has on them.
Yeah, and I thought you brought up a very valid point, Michael, about this race being in Chevy's backyard. Obviously, Detroit, Michigan, the media center was in the GM Renaissance Center, so definitely a lot of Chevrolet executives were on hand for this race, and to see Honda take their 7th win of the season obviously can't sit well over in the Chevrolet camp, so to say. My 4th takeaway from this, and I know this is going to look kind of odd, but Michael, you were there for the press conference as well as I and as well as Joy. And I thought it was interesting that all of the drivers that finished on podium were all American drivers. And I think the ironic thing about it is all the drivers got asked that same question, what they thought about all 3 drivers on podium being from the United States of America. Obviously, Detroit, Motor City, that's where you think of cars, you think of muscle cars, you think of American muscle cars, and you think of Detroit. And you had all 3 drivers being from the United States. They all thought it was really cool, but I also thought it was pretty cool for them as well to talk about not only how cool it was for all 3 drivers being from the United States, but they also talked about how diverse that the NTT IndyCar series is as well. So Michael, talk about all 3 drivers again on the podium being from the United States.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool when you look at it from, that sort of perspective of being everyone from the United States. But you're right. The IndyCar series is very diverse. They have a lot of talent. You look at Alex Palou, you have all different countries that are represented, UK, Sweden, Denmark. So, I mean, there's countless more that I'm definitely not going to list all. But it's very interesting when you can have all 3 drivers be from the same nationality now in the IndyCar series when it is so diverse. And it just goes to show you that the diversity in the IndyCar series might be some of the most diverse in motorsports. So we'll just it's not going to happen very often where you have all 3 drivers from the same country. I think the last time was 2020 or 2021. I believe that was the last time it was. I think we should have Bob Pockris on tonight because I think he had the quote there. So, it's impressive, but like I said, it's not going to happen very often, especially with the diversity in the series today.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great point. And I did see that nugget that Bob put out there, and just to piggyback on the first takeaway about Chevrolet, I had somebody text me, and they know exactly who they are, actually said that exec from GM, from Chevrolet rather, said that they couldn't buy a win at this point, which I thought was kind of funny in nature. But Moving on, number 3, the third takeaway I had, Alex Palou is human, ladies and gentlemen. I know that's hard to believe, but Alex Palou is human. And the reason why I say he's human, believe it or not, if you didn't see the race on Sunday, Alex Palou DNF'd. I know, I hope you're sitting down when you heard that news, but yes, Alex Palou did DNF. Say it ain't so. The winner of the race on Sunday was not named Alex Palou. Go figure, right? Actually, Palou in the number 10 DHL Honda for Chip Ganassi Racing didn't even finish the race, which obviously, like I said, I know that probably shocks a lot of people, me and Michael in particular. It begs the question, is Alex Palou actually finally human now? You know, we were praising him for his finishes, average finish of 1.2. Now Alex Palou is actually human. It was confirmed on Sunday. He finished 25th. Michael, I figured you knew this, but Alex Palou's last DNF was 2024 at the Hy-Vee Homefront 250, where Palou crashed and finished 23rd. But on a side note, even with Palou's first DNF of the year, he still holds a slim, and I say slim, 90-point lead over Pato Award. But talk about your reaction and in your thoughts on Alex Palou collecting his first DNF of the season.
Yeah, well, we talked about this for weeks now. Alex Palou doesn't make mistakes, and you can continue to say that because this wasn't his fault. Mo Lucas locked up the fronts and got into the back of him. Yet again, not his fault. Now you go back, you talked about his DNF back in 2024 at Iowa's race 1. That was his fault. He just had a mistake. But we've talked about it on this show. We talked about it this weekend at Detroit between ourselves. He doesn't make mistakes. It's not part of his nature. And we talked about it. He's going to need engine failures and things like this for people to catch him in the championship because he doesn't make mistakes. He's going to need mechanical issues, engine failures, flat tires, things like that to really help close this championship in. And one thing I did want to say is I did catch up with Alex after the race. Talk to him about the shortness of the track and things like that, but he really wasn't. It wasn't a concern to him. The track is fine. It's just a driver made a mistake, and unfortunately he was the victim in that. Another thing I do want to point out is even after crashing out his first DNF of the year, I love where the medical unit is there at Detroit because he has to walk from there back to his garage area, and there was fans there, and he stopped and took pictures with every single one of them. So just a class act from Alex Palou. We do think of him as kind of not human, but he's definitely human. He has a great personality. He's very funny, and he does take time for the fans, and that's what we need in this series to help it grow.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, I didn't know that story about those fans being right there, and he took time. He could have been frustrated, obviously not being able to finish the race, going out the way he did, and he could have just blew those fans off. But instead, he took the time to take pictures and sign autographs, I'm sure. And Michael, before I get to takeaway number 2, we have a request via text to play the game What's in Michael's Cup. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say tonight in Michael's Cup is a strawberry banana smoothie.
Absolutely wrong. It's just regular coffee. Actually, it's decaf coffee if we want to be more accurate. Decaf coffee with caramel macchiato creamer if we're going to be 100% accurate there.
And it's very important on this show, the accuracy of what's in your cup. Me, I just have the old regular Diet Coke. No sponsorship by McDonald's yet, but just the old-fashioned Diet Coke there, living on the edge, so to say. All right, getting back into the show here. Takeaway number 2 has to do with this gentleman, Santino Ferrucci. I know later in the show we're going to talk about how he got docked some points for some post-race shenanigans, so to say. But on Sunday, Santino Ferrucci posted his best career finish in the NTT IndyCar Series, scoring a second place finish behind the wheel of the famed number 14 Sexton Properties AJ Foyt Racing Chevrolet. Obviously, Ferrucci, if you're watching the Open or the race in its entirety, was able to use pit strategy to grab his second career podium, his first since finishing P3 in the 2023 Indianapolis 500. So a great day there for Santino Ferrucci and AJ Foyt Racing.
Yeah, it's been a great couple of weeks, actually a good month of May for AJ Foyt Racing. He played the pit strategy just right. The yellow fell at the right time for them and was able to lead some laps. And good running for AJ Foyt Racing over the past, couple of weeks at the 500 and now here at Detroit. So if they can keep that momentum going, one thing that, a lot of people haven't really talked about, and I know we have, is that now AJ Foyt Racing's cars are both built in Speedway, which the previous years they were built in two separate locations, which not sure how that logistically was smart or worked out. But, with having everyone in-house and in the same shop and building everything together, you can tell not only are the cars coming to the racetrack better, but the drivers are working well together and helping to build that program. And it's kind of shocking to see how fast, everything's coming together over there at AJ Foyt Racing.
Yeah, definitely a great month or so over there, as you pointed out there at AJ Foyt Racing. So maybe a big second half, not only for Santino Ferrucci, but David Malukas over there at AJ Foyt Racing. And then obviously my number one takeaway has to be how dominant Kyle Kirkwood was on Sunday. Sunday. Outside of Alex Palou, Kyle Kirkwood is the only other winner on the NTT IndyCar Series this season, as he collected his second victory. Kirkwood was able to lead 48 laps, and not only did he have to hold off Santino Ferrucci, but he experienced a little bit of front wing damage that he talked about and addressed after the race, which he said it didn't affect him at all. Now, how much he was playing coy or not, we'll never know. But Kirkwood is able to notch his fourth career victory on Sunday. He's obviously picked up two of his four career victories in 2025. But Michael, talk about the race winner there, Kyle Kirkwood.
Yeah, Kyle was very upset Saturday after qualifying third. He felt he had a pole running car and he wanted that P1 award. So when I looked at his overall speed throughout the entire weekend, it's one of the reasons I picked him to win this weekend in our poll. And I know we'll get to that in a little bit, but he just looked comfortable from start to finish. He ran well at St. Pete as well. So I look back at the previous road courses this year, street courses more importantly, and obviously he won out at Long Beach, and Long Beach is a little bumpy, so I felt he would be really good. Honestly, Andretti Global as a whole was really well. Herto up there as well. So just have to keep looking at the Andretti Global cars for road and street courses for sure.
Yeah, they definitely got something figured out in their road and street course program there, as you pointed out, and they're definitely going to be a factor down the road to see if Alex Palou is able to capture his third straight NTT IndyCar Series points championship. All right, flipping over to the results. If you did not see them, this is how everything turned out. It was Kyle Kirkwood, followed by Santino Ferrucci and Colton Herta were on podium. And then following them was Will Power, Kiffin Simpson, Marcus Erickson, Pato Award, Christian Lundgaard, Joseph Newgarden, and Alexander Rossi rounded out the top 10. Then it was Scott Dixon, followed by Scott McLaughlin, Marcus Erickson, Little David Malukas, Stingray Robb, Robert Schwartzman, Connor Daly, Jacob Abel, Nolan Siegel, and Graham Rahal round out the top 20. Following them, Felix Rosenquist, Louis Foster, Devlin DeFrancesca, Christian Rasmussen, Alex Palou in 25th, Callum Ilott, and finishing last 27th was Renus VK. Before we get to points, Michael, do you want to take over for a minute and talk about some of the winners and losers from this weekend?
Yes, let's talk about winners and losers from the streets of Detroit. Winners, I kind of just touched on them. Andretti Global, 2 cars on the podium. Ericsson was just kind of, driving around. I'm not sure exactly where he finished. We just went over that too. So, it just looks at that. Ericsson's just not had a great year if we were looking at it, but he got a second place taken away there at the 500, so that's heartbreaking. And then we kind of talked about this too, AJ Foyt Racing. Overall, the speed they have in their race cars right now is really well. Both those cars being built in the same shop, those drivers working well together. And we didn't really touch on this much, but Santino Ferrucci and David Malukas are great on ovals, and the second half of this season is primarily ovals. So they could definitely bump their way up into the top 10 in points for sure. Then we talked about Honda, the side of Chevy. We talked about how horrible their year has been. Well, Honda's won everything this year. So whatever they've got going on with the hybrid and their engine mapping, fuel mapping, they have it all together right now. So it'll be interesting to see if Chevy can actually get a win this year. That would be pretty impressive if they could somehow manage to lose every race this year. And then finally is Kiffin Simpson, kind of a guy that you don't hear much about on a weekly basis, mostly because his teammate is winning everything. But Detroit was his best finish ever in the NTT IndyCar Series, which I was kind of shocked about. So definitely have to put him in the winners list. Just grinding out finishes. And, we don't hear much about him because, Palou's winning everything and his other teammate, Scott Dixon. So he's kind of in the shadows there, but I feel like he's doing okay in that situation and under the pressure that he's under. Losers, well, we talked about it. Chevrolet, just horrible. Can they buy a win? I don't think they could right now. So that's interesting. Renus VK, great qualifying effort from Dale Coyne Racing and Renus VK and everyone over there at the 18 car. But about 4 laps in, he had an engine issue and had to retire. So, we kind of talk about how Honda's doing so well as far as winning all the races this year. They have had a lot of engine issues. I believe Graham Rahal had a engine penalty deduction in the starting grid this weekend. I know Scott Dixon might be on his 5th or 6th engine. So they are having engine issues, but they are winning races too. So I don't think they're going to complain right now. Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan, man, what a difference a month makes. We look back to the Indy GP and, all their cars are running, top 10 and qualified in the top 10. And this race, I don't know what happened to DeFrancesco. He lost a tire at one point. Graham Rahal was sitting on pit road for 2 or 3 laps trying to get a right rear tire put on his car. And then obviously the scary incident we had with Louis Foster, just breaking a suspension mount. Now, a side note on that, he was running in the top 10 at that time. And that was competitive top 10. It wasn't pit strategy or anything like that. So he was on for his best finish of the day or of the year, and the best finish for Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan. But suspension failure and what a scary crash that was. Luckily, he was okay and just kind of dumbfounded on it. He wasn't sure if it was an issue with the track being so bumpy or anything, but guess he was the only one with suspension issues like that. So could have just been a mechanical failure. So yeah, and then the last one I have on the loser side is Prema, another team that had a high from Indy and now leaving a tire loose and Callum just destroying a race car. Just glad he's okay as well, because that was a pretty hard hit in the concrete wall, and didn't hear much about them or from them this weekend. So those are my winners and losers from Detroit. Derik, I'd love to hear if you have any thing to add to those.
No, I think you're spot on. Obviously, with one of the biggest loser, I think of that, and it pains me to say that is Chevrolet. Obviously, if you know me, you know my passion for Chevrolet products, and it's sad to me that out of 7 races so far, all Chevrolet can account for is 4 pole positions, and that's it. And I looked over at the manufacturer's points, Michael, and Honda has a 135-point lead over Chevrolet. Honda has 635 manufacturer points, and that is included with 7 wins and 5 poles. Chevrolet has 500 points, no wins, and 4 poles. So hopefully in the second half of the season, Chevrolet is able to get there straight, if you understand what I mean there, because what a lackluster performance from all. And I'm not just going to single out one Chevrolet driver, but a lackluster performance from all of the Chevrolet drivers in that camp. So hopefully, getting punched in the mouth, as Mike Tyson would say, in your backyard. I hope that lights a fire under those drivers. Before we get to the championship point standings, let's hear from 2 of the 3 podium finishers from Sunday.
21st to 2nd for Santino Ferrucci, a career best. How are you and this 14 team able to make it happen?
Man, first off, huge shout out to this whole team. I mean, we were struggling in qualifying. I struggled. I made a lot of mistakes. I was really hard on myself yesterday because I felt like it was all on me. Pit stops were phenomenal. The stand was amazing. I mean, perfect strategy. I just got lucky with that yellow. And, man, I don't think I've ever been so happy to see a red flag, because I was really struggling. I don't know what I did with the tires, but I couldn't get them to come back to life. But, man, Kyle was so fast today, so congratulations to him and his team on this win. And, man, I'm just happy to bring Chevrolet on the podium. So in our section properties, AJ Foyt Racing 14 back on the podium here in the streets of Detroit.
A career best for Santino Ferrucci.
Next, Colton Herta.
3rd place today for Colton Herta. You've had so much bad luck this year already. Must be pretty satisfied with today.
Happy to finally get a result, for sure. Big congrats to Kyle, to the whole Trade Global TWG team. But yeah, man, it's like so much weight off my shoulders. It is disappointing to get the pole and not to follow it up with a win. But with how crazy this race is, just to survive it is a good thing. And, I think if you told me before the race that we're going to finish 3rd, I would be happy, because this year has just been really tough. So, fast Cambridge Honda. Happy to take it to Chevy here in Motor City.
Congrats, bro.
A shot across the bow there from Colton Herta right there in that last segment. Let's take a look at the point standings again. I know I apologize in advance. Trying to find a site or a way to make these readable, but I may not have been able to, and Joy's going to love this, Michael, but I may not have been able to cut the mustard this week when it comes to getting these point standings up on screen on the graphic for everyone. But again, Alex Pillow is your points leader at 311 points. And then it's Pato Award, Kyle Kirkwood, Christian Lundgaard, and Will Power round out the top 5. Then it's Felix Rosenquist, Scott Dixon, Scott McLaughlin, Colton Herta and Marcus Armstrong, there we go, round out the top 10. Then it is David Malukas, followed by Joseph Newgarden, Alexander Rossi, Santino Ferrucci, Graham Rahal, Renus VK, Christian Rasmussen, Kiffin Simpson, Marcus Ericsson, and Connor Daly round out the top 20. And then of the full-time drivers, it is Nolan Siegel, Robert Schwartzman, Stingray Robb, Louis Foster, Devlin DeFrancesca, Callum Ilott, Jacob Abel, and that is your top 27. Michael, anybody stand out in points as we slowly roll into the second half of the NDT IndyCar Series season?
Yeah, it for me, honestly, when I look at the points, it's amazing that how far down Nolan Siegel is in points. I mean, you look at his other teammates and they're right up there, in the hunt, and he's back in 21st. That's kind of shocking. And the way Arrow McLaren has been with turnover lately. How much longer are they going to sit by and let him continue to sit back there 21st, 22nd, 20th in points? That's not their mantra over there. So that'll be interesting to see how long. And I know he got booted out of the way this weekend, so he can't look at it that way. But it's just constant issues or mistakes from him or the team. So we'll see what happens there. That's definitely interesting. And don't forget the leader circle. That battle will be heating up as we go towards the end of the year.
Yeah, definitely. This is a results-driven sport, and there's no way around it. All professional sports is results-driven, and I know Nolan Siegel is young. I get that, I do, but I think you're onto something there, Michael, as to what's going to be the future of Nolan Siegel at Arrow McLaren. We know how sporadic, I don't know if that's the right word, that Arrow McLaren is with their drivers, and they'll switch them in and out as seen fit. But definitely going to be interesting to keep an eye on what the future is with Nolan Siegel. Is it Arrow McLaren, or is it somewhere else in the future? You talked about race picks, and obviously you were the king of the picks this weekend. As you see right there, you took Kyle Kirkwood, which was obviously the correct pick. I went with Christian Lundgaard. Josh was out early with Renus VK, and Joy went with little David Malukas. So I'll let you talk about your win there with Kyle Kirkwood a little bit, and then we'll explain as to moving forward now what these race picks are going to look like.
Yeah, I kind of touched on it earlier. The reason I picked Kirkwood is his prior experience or his performance this past year, at St. Pete and, winning at Long Beach, and just his speed he had this weekend. Friday he was fast. Saturday he was, upset he didn't, get the pole. And then, obviously morning warm-ups, he was pretty quick too. So that's really why I went with Kirkwood, just the speed he had in his car. And with Herta being on the pole, I figured for sure, there would be some speed in the Andretti Global cars. And I just felt like Kirkwood was just a little bit better than Herta throughout the entire weekend. And then any shade on Herta or his pit crew, but they've had a lot of issues this year that have taken him out of a lot of races. And Herta kind of talked about that in the video we heard. Just finally got a result. So I mean, good for him and everyone at Andretti Global.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we probably should have done this, and again, I know we're in the middle of the ball game here. I get it. We probably should have did this at the beginning of the year, but to make things a little more interesting, what we have decided now is each host cannot pick the same driver. Once they picked a driver, that driver is basically eliminated from their pool. So this is kind of turned into a driver elimination pick, I guess so to say. But yes, once you pick a driver, like for example, with Michael now picking Kyle Kirkwood, he cannot pick Kyle Kirkwood for the rest of the year, just like I cannot pick Christian Lundgaard for the rest of the year. Josh got Rinus VeeKay out of the year. So it's kind of like a driver elimination pool, so to say. So we're going to see how many we get close to first or best finish for the rest of the year, and then we'll see what the winner can see what we can find for the winner. Maybe a gift card or something. We'll have to see, but that's how that's going to be done from now on. So we thought we would explain that a little bit. Let's take a step away here for a minute, and let's talk about two great sponsors of the Push to Pass podcast that would not make it possible for us to be here. Everyone that is here behind the scenes and in front of the camera on the Push to Pass podcast. First, Always Ready 1776. If you are in the market for patriotic apparel, headwear, and more, go check out Always Ready 1776, and you can find them on the web at alwaysready1776.com. And if you do choose to buy something there at their site, make sure you use that promo code that you see right there on your screen, Push to Pass, for 10% off of your order at Always Ready 1776. Again, another fine sponsor of the Push to Pass podcast is Gettum Associates. For all your home design, build, and remodeling needs, remember, it's Gettum Associates, and you can find them on the web at gettum.com. And if you do choose to use their services, again, use that promo code you see down there at the bottom, Push to Pass, for $250 off any design service. Huge thank you both to Always Ready 1776 and Gettum Associates for being proud sponsors of the Push to Pass podcast. All right, getting back into things, I think we've, Michael, we can close the book, I feel, on Detroit. I thought we did a tremendous job. You especially enjoy the way both of you covered that, you getting interviews and texting, and not texting, but tweeting things out from the podcast social media pages. You can see up there in the right-hand corner, we are introducing our new logo that I was able to obtain over the weekend. I sent it out to everybody. Everybody thought that was a really great design. So why not now to bust that out? So you're going to see that on all of the social media platforms from this point going forward. We got a couple things, Josh. Excuse me. Let's try that again. We got a couple things, Michael, in the news bin this evening before we get on out of here. I know it's not as long a show as what we have been, but with just one race, we were able to get through some things and not keep everyone here for an hour and a half. It seems like, as we have the last couple shows, but. The first newsworthy item, again, you can find all these stories that I write, that Michael writes over at the Push to Pass WordPress site, or if you go to yournews.com under the Your Sports and Auto Racing, you will find them there. But Santino Ferrucci, unfortunately, and the whole number 14 crew, Michael, after Detroit get dinged with a violation and penalty. And I find it interesting that ever since everything that went down, that whole black cloud over Team Penske at the Indianapolis 500, pre-race and post-race tech have kind of tightened their belts there a little bit. But the IndyCar did announce yesterday a post-race technical inspection penalty for the entry of the number 14 AJ Foyt Enterprises following Sunday's Chevrolet Detroit Grand Prix after it was found to be under the required driver ballistic weight following the event. Let me get through this real quick, and then hopefully Michael can shed a little more light into what this means. But it was found that AJ Foyt Enterprises was in violation of Rule 14.1.2, which is driver evaluation weight. And driver equivaluation weight must bring the combined weight of the driver and driver ballistic to 185 pounds. Driver ballistic weight tolerance is 0.00 to plus 0.1 pound. The driver equivalency weight must be installed and secured in a design location forward of the seat back. This location may only be used for driver ballistics. So, all that happened here, Santino, Ferrucci, and the number 14 were able to keep their second place finish. However, they ended up being fined $25,000 and will forfeit 25 championship points. And the bonus points that Ferrucci accumulated for leading a lap is also going to be taken away. And then the number 14 is also ineligible for engine points and prize money associated with this race. So, Michael, give us in layman's terms what the 14 crew failed during post-race inspection.
Yeah, so basically what it is IndyCar has set that 185-pound weight limit basically for drivers. Now, obviously, if you have a driver who's over that, you're allowed to take a little bit of weight out of the car. You have a driver who I'm assuming Santino, his size and stature is probably under 185 pounds. And so basically what you do is you have to add weight to the car so that, you can equal that 185 pounds. And it seems like maybe, with the heat or the lack thereof, or something happened to where they just miscalculated, either he didn't lose enough fluid that they thought he was going to, maybe they predicted it was going to be a little hotter. He's going to sweat a little more. And basically at the beginning of the year, the way they get to that 185 pounds is basically the drivers do a weigh-in, kind of like the UFC and things like that. All the drivers weigh in, and it's kind of the average of the driver that 185 pounds. So, you basically, the car was over the minimum weight. Let's not take that out of this. The car was over the minimum weight. So it's not like this was entirely, egregious. It really wasn't. Basically, they miscalculated, putting a couple of pounds, or I think it was a pound in the car that maybe Santino lost, or they expected him to lose. They didn't expect him to lose that much during the race, and maybe he did. So it's kind of a weird situation, but you're right. Ever since the Indy situation, it seems like Tech has really cracked down on looking at things. I kind of tweeted that out from the podcast account, like, hey, what's going on with inspection? Is someone really, have they not been documenting these? Because it's every week now since Indy that we've had some sort of violation. And it's like, was this not documented before? Has this not been spoken about? So that is kind of interesting that ever since, the Penske penalties, we've had an issue either pre or post race ever since. So definitely have to keep a tracker on that.
So do you think Ferrucci should have did what Connor Daly did during the 500 while he waited out the rain delay and just peed in his car, and that would have just offset everything and everything would have been hunky-dory?
No, I don't think that would have done anything because it would have still been fluid. I would actually lost more fluid. So, no, basically what it was is, they miscalculated the weight that he was going to lose during the race. I mean, if I had to guess, because I've heard stories of drivers losing anywhere from 1 to 4 pounds during a race just from sweat, and exhaustion. So, it's a hard calculation, and these teams are cutting it close. I mean, I'm sure every single, team was within, half a pound of that 185, because you want that car to be as light as possible. It goes faster. So, yet again, it's kind of like that unwritten rule where if I'm a driver, I want my team to push every inch, and they just kind of pushed a little bit too much in that area. So I don't think it's anything that is egregious by any means. The car was still over the minimum weight. Now, if we're talking the car under the minimum weight, then we have a problem. But I think you'd have seen maybe a DQ at that point to where he didn't get anything. But no, being a pound underweight for the driver. That's just a miscalculation from the team. I honestly, to be honest
you
with
just
you,
ruined my
I
dreams
think
of being an IndyCar driver because you said it's a great way to lose weight. So it sure beats walking up and down in Detroit. But you said they want the cars light and fast, and I've never been equated to being light and fast. So unfortunately, I guess that ruins my driving dream there. Thank you, Dream Crusher. Michael. All right. Second newsworthy item actually just come out earlier this morning. This is something that we frequently talk about here on the podcast, and it's TV numbers. Fox announced this morning that the race this past Sunday, which was won by Kyle Kirkwood, securing his second victory of the season on the streets of Detroit, gathered 1.06 million viewers. Now, according to Fox Sports' calculations, the viewership from this past Sunday's race was up 75% compared to last year's race of just 608,000 viewers, which was televised on the USA Network. Also, too, this past Sunday's race ranks as the most watched NTT IndyCar Series race in Detroit since 2021. The peak viewership of the race was between 2:30 and 2:45 p.m. So if memory serves me correctly, Michael, that would have been slightly towards the end when the action started picking up a little bit. You can correct me if I'm wrong here in a second. And then with IndyCar being their first season on Fox through 7 races, IndyCar and Fox is averaging about 2,173,000 viewers, and that is a growth of 31% from 2024 on NBC, when the average viewership was just 1,662,000. So great numbers all around. I know you're not going to be able to beat what Indy checked in this year, but I think for the race following Indy, I think Fox and IndyCar themselves definitely have to be happy with what they got viewership-wise.
Yeah, I look at the numbers and I'm kind of like, where did the other 6 million people go? So I know it's a big race day, but I would have hoped to have caught a little bit more people, especially with the NASCAR race being, late, starting at 7 o'clock. So, and then, if you still want if you're trying to pull the casual F1 fan over, I mean, the F1 race was early enough in the morning. I think it started at 9 a.m. So you still had time to watch all of that, then jump over to the IndyCar race. So I'm not sure where all the people went. And being up 31% over last year, I don't think that's a great number, if I'm being honest, because you think about all the times that IndyCar last year got bumped to only Peacock, or only, it got bumped to CNBC, or only on USA. I mean, all these races are on network television, so they're gonna have to keep that million plus up every week to continue to be good. But it's small growth. That's what it is. We have to continue to promote the sport like we're doing. There's other people out there doing the exact same thing. Fox is doing a really good job. I think some of their coverage is a little daunting. I know a lot of people want more post-race, and I feel like Fox does a little bit too much pre-race. So I think we need to adjust the schedule, not so much when Fox is broadcasting, but we have to get more post-race. We want to hear what the drivers had to say after the race. We don't really care what they say before the race because nothing's really happened yet. So I feel like that's the mindset Fox needs to go, is we need more post-race. We need good action, which Detroit put on a great show. And luckily, I was able to go back and watch the race because, as we talked about on the way out of the track, I didn't get to see a lot of the race. I was down on pit road, medical center, running around. So I didn't get to actually see a lot of the race. I was actually asking you for updates. You were giving me updates on what was happening so I could get to places I needed to be. But we've got to get the viewership, a little bit higher. Honestly, I would like to see substantial growth through the end of the year. If we could get to maybe 1.2 every race, that would be good. But obviously positive numbers are good, but we have to keep going. We have to keep building and growing. That's just where we have to be. We have to help promote the sport, help promote sponsors, help get the drivers' personalities out there for sure.
Yeah, I think all your points are accurate and definitely important, especially when it comes to post race. And again, I doubt that Fox would do this, but I would love to see Fox, like you said, cut down on some of the pre-race activities that they do, and maybe televise that the post race press conference they have where all three of the podium drivers come in. I doubt Fox is going to do that. Obviously, they're not going to change up in the middle of the game, but maybe that's a idea that's thrown around the boardroom this offseason and how to better the coverage on Fox. Outside of that, I think they do a tremendous job. I think the announcers they have are very knowledgeable. I think the pit road reporters, and again, I'm not kissing ass here by any stretch of the imagination. I think they do a tremendous job. You got, Jack Harvey obviously has driving experience just this past 500. Some of the other individuals, Georgia Henneberry, she's been around motorsports for quite a long time. She's a previous guest of the show. She knows what she's talking about. And obviously, you have Will Buxton and Hinch up in the booth, and they know what they're talking about as well, along with Townsend Bell. So I think Fox does a great job of during the race, and I think they do a okay job in pre-race. Like I said, I think there's cut down on some of those pre-race activities, but I would love to see them pick up their coverage a little bit on the back end when it comes to the post race. But again, this is the first year. Obviously, they're going to iron things out where they need more coverage, where they need less coverage at going into next year, and maybe they'll listen to the people a little bit and do some of that post race coverage as well. All right, I see the checkered flag is right above us or straight ahead. But before we get to that, Michael, anything else from the Detroit race? Any takeaways you had from that, or news and notes that I may have missed that we need to cover here before we get on out of here?
Yeah, just one other thing on the broadcast. When this has been floated around quite a bit as far as I follow a lot of people on NASCAR side of things, and there's been a lot of talk lately about when you have a TV window and you say, hey, we're starting, at our race starts at 2:00. Well, you tune in at 2:00 and you have 20-30 minutes of pre-race before you get to the national anthem, the invocation, the drivers to your cars, drivers start your engines, and then you have 3 pace laps. When I look at the Formula One side of things, it tells me the race is going to start at 9:00. Well, I tune in at whenever I want. So if I tune in at 9:00, that formation lap is going. They come back around. They're lined up, and it's 9:03, and they're on to the grid. So I wonder if there's not a way that we can communicate. And I know Bob Pockris does a great job of putting out when stuff is, as far as qualifying and what time the broadcast starts and what time the green flag starts. But I feel like Fox could do a better job of coming in right into, maybe to say, hey, our pre-race show starts at 3:00, but we know the green flag's going to be at like 3:35. So the actual race starts at 3:30. So you have that kind of 5-minute, get ready for it. I just feel like that's turned a lot of fans off when they tune in and they say race coverage starts at 3:00, but the race doesn't start till 3:45. So I don't know if that turns off a lot of fans, but who knows? Definitely something to talk about.
Yeah, definitely a topic moving forward. it may be into the off season, like I said, maybe in those boardrooms, Fox sits down and they recap, where we could put less coverage, where we could put more coverage heading into 2026. Michael, I think that about wraps it up for another episode of the Push to Pass podcast. I know we'll be back in 1 week's time to preview the Bomarita Automotive Group 500 from Madison, Illinois, from Worldwide Technology Raceway. Can't wait to cover that. I know that's going to be a night race on Sunday, so definitely I love the night races. I love the way the lights or the way the liveries hit off the lights there for a night race. I know you're excited to see that race as well. So that's what we'll be previewing next week. Obviously, we'll have Josh will be back with us. Mike will be here to preview all your bets for the Bomarita Automotive Group 500. And then obviously we will have the first look at the weather report for the race next Sunday as well. So for myself and Michael and Josh, who is absent this evening, and everyone else that makes up the Push to Pass podcast, like I said, we'll be back in 1 week's time to preview, discuss, and look at the Bomarita Automotive Group 500. So until then, so long, everybody.